Undisputed, the Mexican Monster Pack out now.
Boxing King Media. We're here in the Stephen Charles Snooker Club in middle of Manchester, and this is where I found Russ Anber at his first love, snooker.
My home away from home. They take such good care of me here. It's a pleasure to be here. That's why whenever I get a call to come to Manchester, I jump on it right away.
I've told you loads of times before, I can't do golf and I can't do snooker, two sports which I kind of see as the same.
Wow. I don't know about the same, but both very hard, man. Both hard. I mean, you watch these guys on TV and they make it look so easy. And believe me, making one ball is difficult on a snooker table. The way these guys do it and make it look so easy. If you've played the game, that's why the people who play appreciate exactly how good these guys are, because of how difficult the game is. And golf's the same way. Anybody who goes up there tries to swing at the ball, but to send it straight all the time and far and have power. Two very hard games, bro. Two very hard games, yeah.
I'm going to let you play snooker, mate. I'm going to stick to boxing and then a bit of cricket and a bit of football. That's about it. Do you ever watch cricket?
I love cricket, actually. I love cricket way more than football. I like cricket because there's a lot of similarities. I'm a huge baseball fan. So there's a lot of similarities, and I understand the concept, and I understand the game of cricket. It was a gentleman, actually, in New Zealand, 1990. I went there for the Commonwealth Games, and we stayed in this man's house. We rented a room in his house, and he would sit and watch cricket, and he's the one who started explaining the game to me, and I really grew an appreciation for the game of cricket. So I can watch it, and I know what's happening. Sometimes I don't understand all the scores, how it works. I got to ask somebody to get a refresher, but I like cricket. I like cricket a lot.
Just out of curiosity, name drop me some legendary players that you enjoyed watching.
Well, that I enjoyed watching, I couldn't, but the legendary name that I know is Garfield Sobers, the Jamaican. That was one, because my first world champion, Otis Grant, his middle name is Garfield, and he was named after Garfield Sobers. Yeah.
That's Brian Lara.
That's how I know that.
Well, Brian Lara's probably more towards the time you was probably watching Brian Lara. You heard of him?
No.
One of the best left-handed batsmen ever. Brian Lara. In fact, he's got the record, unless it's been broken, for the most amount of runs scored in one game, and I think it was about 400.
Oh, wow. Okay. Okay. Wow. That's impressive. I know enough about him to know that that's really impressive. So yeah, I love the game. Another game I love rugby as well. I like rugby. I think that's a real man's game. I think it's those are some tough guys, and they play a hard game. Again, there's certain similarities to American football or Canadian football as in rugby. So I understand the concept, I understand the game, and I know how hard that is and the impact that these guys have. And I find it a game that's filled with action. Some people can look at baseball or cricket and say, well, it's boring, but I understand how difficult it is. The bowler, or in baseball, the pitcher, what they're doing, how fast that ball is coming in. If you haven't played it, you don't realize the speed in which it happens. So I appreciate that in cricket, and I understand how physical and tough rugby is, because I see it I see rugby and I see American football, so I understand it.
Good stuff. We'll move on to the boxing before people start switching off. So you're in town. Obviously, you're in Manchester. You're in town for Jack Turner, one of the top prospects in British boxing. Crazy puncher who definitely needs his hands protected by the best hand rapper in the world, because he punches like he wants to kill you.
Well, it's not just that he wants to kill you. I mean, he's a guy like this. He's a cherub, but in the ring, something unleashes in this guy, and I'm not stepping out far here when I say all my years in boxing, he is one of the hardest punchers, pound for pound, I've ever seen. And I've seen him in the gym with welterweights and middleweights, solid welterweights and middleweights, and he hurts them. Like, he hits you here. They have to be careful. This guy, he's landing. It's the most natural power I've seen, especially coming from such a small guy. How he generates that kind of firepower. This guy has the firepower to easily carry him through 3 or 4 weight classes without a problem. Like, he's going to be able to punch hard at any weight. And if he stays disciplined and does what I think he can do, And of course, it's always the outside the ring you got to be worried about. You know, if he makes sure he stays fit, stays disciplined outside the ring, like Usyk has said often, you know, stays disciplined in what he does, I think, you know, this guy's more than just a one division world champion. I think he can go on to do some great stuff, man. He's super exciting.
And fans can tune in and watch him on The Zone this Saturday from the Queensbury show, right here in Altrincham. So I want to talk to you about, I think, you know, we spoke after Usyk's win over Dubois, and I know you was not offended, but you was disappointed is probably the word with regards to the Don Charles's comments in the press conference, etc. Obviously, I don't know what you thought of the work he'd done with Daniel Dubois as a coach, but we've seen in the last couple of days he's basically been sacked by Daniel Dubois, which I think surprised some people, because Kieran Farrell, who was one of the other coaches, he resigned a couple of weeks ago. So he resigned, but obviously Don, we never heard anything. But obviously we got the message from Dubois yesterday, but nothing from Don. What are you surprised by him getting relieved of his position, and what did you kind of make of the whole decision?
I don't see how you could say he deserved it. I mean, I know there's things you have to know to be inside and understand it. The reason why I say I'm not surprised is because I think Don was coach number 5 in Daniel's career. So, you know, there seems to be like a pattern. And I said to someone today, I said, he's had 5 people who have maybe acted as trainer, but I think the father has been the guy, you know, who really was the behind the scenes man and the guy calling the shots. So I can't say I'm surprised. I am disappointed for Don, though, because if you look at him throughout his career, this probably was the run that he really did the best in, you know, and to come back from the loss to Usyk, let's say, to come back from that in a fight in which, you know, he didn't win a round as far as I'm concerned, but he was in there, he was trying, he tried, and he was in there. Forget the low blow, because you know what I think about that, and you know, you that created the second fight. Okay, great. But we know that wasn't there. We know the low blow was there, I should say. You know, that saying it wasn't is fabrication. But to come back and get the wins that he got after that, including, of course, the most devastating win, which was over Anthony, and not only earn another shot, but had a bunch of people believing that he had gone over the hump, gotten over the loss, and was going to be the most serious challenger to date for Usyk. Like, this was the guy that earned his way. He didn't just get gifted another title shot. He earned his way back. And I think a lot of that has to lay at the hands of Don Charles. I think Don's approach to that and what he did and the way he got him ready, and whatever disbelief that maybe Dubois might have had and didn't say, Don Charles had the belief in it, and Don Charles was convincing in his belief that they were going to pull off this upset, you know, to the point where he pushed the horses, if you will, you know, and made Usyk much more aware that Daniel was going to be somebody to contend with, and made Usyk that much sharper and that much better prepared for somebody like Daniel. And Daniel came out, as we spoke about leading up to the fight, he was going to, you know, throw caution to the wind. He was going to go for it. If it worked, it worked. If it didn't, it didn't. He probably could have laid back, you know, and gone into later rounds and see. But I guess he didn't feel comfortable. That didn't work the first time, so he figured he's going to try something different. And I think Usyk knew that this was coming, and I think Usyk was able to handle it. But I feel bad for Don having suffered this fate, you know, coming off of a loss. Like, what was wrong? Like, what did you do wrong? Because you lost, it became Don's fault. Like, I'm confused. I don't know enough about the situation to comment on it. But leading up to the fight, it looked like Don had done a good job and got him, you know, a legitimate shot at the heavyweight crown again.
See, what I like about you, Russ, is you're giving me you still give me a fair opinion, because I know personally that you wasn't happy with Don on the comments he made with regards to Usyk and his faith, and I know you weren't happy about them comments, but you're still giving like a fair assessment of that situation.
Of course, but I'm not trying to bullshit. And like I said in up the fight when Dev was trying to incite that, oh, you had some things with Don. I don't have an issue with Don. I have a general principle that I don't like anybody, promoters, managers, trainers, shit-talking fighters. Let the fighters do that. The fighters can do that. Even though I'm not a big fan of that kind of stuff, there should be a mutual respect for, we all know how dangerous the sport is, and you should have some respect between fighters. But the fighters get to settle it between themselves, okay? I can give them that. But a trainer, a manager, a promoter, they walk down the steps when the bell rings. So I don't like them talking about, now you can talk about your guy, you can say how great your guy is, how good, the belief you have in him, what you've gotten him ready for. You're going to cause an upset. You're going to do this. You're going to, great. I have no problem with that. But don't talk about the fighter. Don't attack the fighter and criticize him or condemn him or belittle him about something directly, which is what Don did, I felt, with the faith thing. You're attacking a man of faith. You're basically calling him out as being a liar and attacking him. But you don't have to answer to him. Daniel's the one who has to answer to him. So that bothered me that he did that, because I think Don, from the times I've met him, has always been a nice man, and I never would, and I've worked opposite him a few times. I was with Malik Scott when he had Derek Chisora, I worked with against him. I never had an issue with him. I still don't have an issue with him. I don't know if he has one with me, but I certainly don't have one with him. I'm just saying in general, and I would tell Don, I just don't like when trainers, managers, promoters talk shit to a fighter. I think it's disrespectful, and they've earned at least that much respect that they're fighting. And you, as a trainer, manager, or promoter who's in the game for a long time, you should know that that's just a line you don't cross. That's for the fighters. Just stay out of that. Do your business, negotiate, train your fighters, do everything you have to do. But don't go to don't overstep that line of talking to the fighters, because in a way I find that, I don't know what a better word for it is, but cowardly, because you know that they can't do anything about it to you. And your fighter is the one who's going to have to pay for your talk. And I don't think that's right.
Well, we saw Don pick up British Boxing Board Trainer of the Year award last year. Very prestigious award on the back end of them 3 wins. I know you're a bit of a boxing historian. Could you recall a moment where a trainer has won that award and got sacked a fight later?
That's a good question, bro. That's a great question. No, because
it's like winning the Premiership, isn't it, in football?
Yeah.
And boom, you lost your first game and you're straight out.
Look, the best example I can give that comes to mind immediately is ice hockey. And the Montreal Canadiens, which was my home team, had a player named PK Subban who was a loud, extrovert, a fan favorite. He in the dressing room, he owned the dressing room. He put his music on. And a lot of the players didn't like that. But he was the Norris Trophy winner, and the Norris Trophy is the trophy for the best defenseman in the league. And he had to go to arbitration after being named best defenseman of the league to try to get his contract renewed and get the money he wanted and whatnot, and was eventually traded. And he may be the only Norris Trophy winner to be traded by a team, So I see what you're saying. I don't know in boxing if that's ever happened before, but that's why I said I think it's a little harsh what they did to Don, because I give full credit to what he did. And like I said, Daniel did not get gifted with a shot. They rolled the dice thinking, well, maybe he's done after the Usyk fight, They rolled the dice, put him in, he wins. Roll the dice again, put him in. Then the huge win over Joshua 3 times, like you said. He earned it. And I think Don had a major role to play in that. I think he's proven himself.
The new change, again, this isn't confirmed, but the strong rumors are Tony Sims is going to be the new coach. Sam Jones, I don't know if you know Sam Jones. Do you know Sam?
Of course.
So Sam Jones has joined the team as an advisor stroke agent. What do you make of them 2 additions to the team, Sam Jones and Tony Sims, which again isn't confirmed as the new additions to the team?
Look, you're asking me something that I can only offer you, a slight opinion on, but it's really not fact-based, because I don't know enough about the inner workings, and I don't want to sound like a dummy pretending I know about something. I hate when people do that. They say, yeah, you should do this, and these talk show guys, talk about it. You're not even in the gym. You haven't even seen the guy. Well, you have absolutely zero credibility in answering that question, so I don't want to be that guy. But what I will say is this. I think Daniel's career lies in Daniel's hands, and I think he proved what he can do under Don Charles. You have all these wins that earned you back a shot at the title. if you didn't believe that Don played a role in that, you could have got rid of him earlier. After a win, you could have got rid of him. Why are you choosing to get rid of him after a loss? Why is that breakup happening? Now, was there stuff going on in the gym leading up to the fight? Who knows? I don't know. Maybe it's justified.
Just picking back up because the memory card, I had to delete some videos there. So yeah, as you was just kind of wrapping up on, you didn't really want to give an opinion on Tony Sims and Sam Jones because you're not in the position to do so, as you said.
I'm not. I both solid boxing guys, right? Both guys who are around the game, especially Tony. I don't know. I don't know what difference it makes. I think Daniel's future lies in Daniel's hands. What he's going to do. Is he ready now to step up and go through earning another title shot? Because he's not going to be gifted another one. He's not going to be gifted a title shot. He's going to be ready back. He's young. Is he going to want to do it? The stoppage was a severe stoppage against Usyk. There's definitely some rebuilding that's going to have to go on, both technically and mentally. If these guys are the ones to do it, fine. I think there's a whole bunch of other things. I think there was also this talk about that so-called party that they had, And like I said to you, we don't know if that was a party. Guys could have been there all day, and he just comes out and says, "Hey, everybody," and walks into the car and leaves. We don't know what happened. I think a lot of hype was made over that for nothing, But yeah, the time's going to tell. I don't want to be the guy to pretend I know what's going on. I don't. That's in the inner workings of the camp. It'd be interesting to hear what Don has to say. But all I can say is that from the outside looking in, you're watching this guy's progress. You're watching the fight he's had. There was absolutely nothing you can point the finger at and say, Don did this bad, Don did that. Nothing. He actually did extraordinary work and brought this guy back and made him heavyweight champion and got him a shot at the undisputed title again. So full credit to him.
Indeed, he did. And lastly, last thing I want to touch upon is the Alexander Usyk business as as his main hand rapper, and you're also part of his team, Cutman, etc. You've been around him for a long time. So I spoke to Sergey Lapin, his team director, yesterday, and he kind of hinted that he's probably going to carry on fighting. He didn't categorically say it, but he kind of hinted more that he will than not. Moses Itauma, at the weekend, we saw him stop Dillian White in a round. Turki Al-Sheikh's talking about wanting Itauma versus Usyk next. So the question I want to ask you is, as someone who's been part of Usyk's team for so long, do you want him to fight Itauma? Do you think that should happen? And how do you kind of see that happen? If it does happen, how do you kind of see it ending?
I think Moses is one of the best young fighters boxing has seen in years, and I'm not just saying that based on a result over Dillian. I hope you understand that when I look at a fighter, I'm looking at things that others don't see. I'm not looking at the hype. I'm looking at what he does in the ring, how he does it, his skill set. I'm looking at that because that's the important stuff. And right now, to me, he's shown probably a better skill set. Although we've only seen little bits in short spurts, he is showing a better foundation and a better fundamental base than I can think anybody in the division right now of the new up-and-coming crop. Caballero's good as well, but Moses just has something about that solid hand-up technique. He's really good basics, man. He's got his fundamentals down pat. So to me, it would be a fight that I know Usyk would take extremely seriously. I can't speak for Usyk as to whether he wants to or shouldn't want to fight, because that's a personal thing. For me, I think Usyk goes down in history as one of the greatest heavyweights of all time. And I can think of only 3 guys who would be a slight, not huge, but a slight betting favorite over Usyk if we were to do dream matchups, okay? I can think of 3 guys. I could put you on the spot and ask you who you think they would be, or I could answer it for you myself. So
Usyk would be the underdog.
Yeah, Usyk would be the underdog.
The current crop?
No. Of all time.
Okay.
Of all time.
I would say potentially against Ali, underdog. Potentially against Foreman. And again, if we're talking, could be cruiserweight, heavyweight, Roy Jones Jr. They're the three names that come to my mind.
Oh, Roy. I love Roy, but he's not a cruiser, or he won a heavyweight. I wouldn't count that. I wouldn't count that because he didn't stay the heavyweight division. He was great light heavyweight and was never a cruiserweight. You're picking George. You're saying, if I had to put a guy against Usyk, who do I put in there who's got the best chance of landing and getting him out of there? George would be your guy. But George would have struggled immensely with a boxer and a guy kind of mover, much the same way he did against Jimmy Young. That would have bothered him immensely, Ali. The three guys that I think would be the betting favorite, you had one of them was Muhammad Ali. I think an Ali of 1967, with the movement and stuff would have been, Usyk would have met a guy maybe even faster than himself, which could have been problematic for Usyk, right? That would be Ali. The other two would be Lennox Lewis, who was extremely skilled, big, could punch hard, difficult to hit. There's a certain science behind Lennox Lewis. And the other guy who I think would have caused no, you see, Tyson, I think, obviously Tyson was that vicious guy, but, guys who had skill set always gave him trouble, always gave him problems. And I think Usyk has massive skill set. Now, that's not to say that Tyson, Joe Frazier, Foreman, they could have landed. They were great fighters. And I'm not saying it would have been a walk in the park by any stretch, but I'm saying as a betting favorite, okay? I think the third guy would have been Larry Holmes. Larry Holmes would have been the guy that, and especially he proved it over such a long period of time, of exactly what he could do. And that would have, again, problematic style matchup. Larry Holmes would have been difficult. All the other guys, and you can name who you want, I just can't see any of them solving Usyk's speed, ability, footwork, punch output, any of that. So for me, I would hope that Usyk leaves this sport as only the second undefeated heavyweight champion of all time, and arguably the greatest heavyweight of all time. Arguably, because the only argument you could make against it was didn't necessarily have the longevity of Joe Lewis's 25 title defenses or Larry Holmes, 24 title defenses. He didn't have that, but arguably in terms of style and ability and performance and track record, because right away, in a short period of time, he's cleaned out 2 divisions, the best boxing has had to offer him, and done it twice against each guy in the heavyweight division. I think it's going to be hard to argue that point, and that's how I want to see him go out. So for me, it's dangerous when I hear of any fight, whether it's Moses, Joseph Parker, any fight is offered to him. I know that Usyk is in a position of everything to lose and absolutely nothing to gain, and that bothers me the most.
That is a very sentimental and beautiful thing to leave on, I think. The fact that you're speaking from a position of trust and friendship, and as a coach who's worked with Alexander. So we'll leave it on that note, and hopefully we'll get to find out what he does soon. Russ, always a pleasure catching up with you in this place that we call the Snooker Club. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Respect isn't given, it's earned. In blood.
Undisputed, the Mexican Monster Pack out now.